guys. So it is April and I can actually do a vlog this month, not like last month. Snickers would like to join. Come here. Come on. Come on. Up you go. Come on. Oh, just gonna stand there and wag his tail at me. He actually thinks that there's some people food up here because I just had some lunch. So he was hoping he'd get some. Funny little dog. I hope you're all doing really good out there. I am doing better. I'm very happy. I'm out in the gardens again. There's been a lot of stuff going on because I had a bunch of projects set to do through March, because usually March is my big month of major work, because March is not hot. Sometimes it's pretty cold. But I don't mind it too much. I can, it's spotty as far as being super cold. So I had a bunch of stuff sitting here ready to go, and when I got sick, so I didn't get anything done. But then this virus thing came along, and we all got stuck at home. And so I figured, well, we might as well put hubby to work. So we did. And he got a whole bunch of stuff done for me, and I'm so grateful. So he got 2 really tall growing beds ready for me that I had planned on building. And the reason I have them that tall is because my back is not great, and it's not going to get better as I age. So I want to make it real easy for me to get in and work on it. And so I decided to invest a little more right now so that later I didn't have to adjust it. And they're not pretty yet. I still need to stain them, and I have a few more pieces to put on it, but they look really good. And they're going to do some nice vegetables this year, so I'm real excited about that. And then in the front, I got an arbor up. Hubby put it up for me. Thought I could do it myself. I was like, it's just a couple of holes, And I just didn't have the strength to do the digging. And then I was reminded by a friend that I should not be digging holes yet. A couple more weeks. So I didn't feel so bad. So hubby put that up for me, and I did some fiddling on it, and it still needs a little work, but I have got a video ready pretty soon for you guys to see. So that'll be cool. Art, I had talked about how I won't be working on art through the summer. However, after I said that, I realized I have a couple of pieces that have to be completed. So I'm not going to drop the ball on those. I will finish those. I have a total of 4, but 2 are later. I don't have to work on them for a while. So I have 2 that really need to get finished. So I'll probably share some video of that, especially, while we're all stuck in. Why not? You can watch me. I've thought about doing a live video on Instagram or Facebook or something like that. I haven't figured out how to do that. It's tricky for me to understand how to be able to have the camera on what I'm working on and still see what people are commenting and asking questions while I work. Okay, Snickers, down you go. Now that he knows there's no food up here, he's like, okay, I guess I can go down. Also, it's a little bit breezy, and he gets scared of the wind, so he's sensitive to the wind. Molly, she stands out and it barks at it and runs with it, and he cowers. It's so funny, the difference in personalities in the dogs. Dogs have always been my companion. I was telling a friend of mine the other day, she was asking, did I always have dogs growing up? And I actually don't remember being without dogs from a child. There was a time period in my life when I was, I guess, late teens, I was without dogs for a little while. That's one of those things that surprised my husband. Actually, I feel bad because when he was dating me, I didn't have any pets, so he didn't really understand what he was getting into. And after we got married, I started collecting pets, and he was like, And for a while it did get out of hand. I adopted, I don't know, I mean, over the years I've adopted 30 some dogs, and cats and horses. I haven't adopted horses, but I have had horses. So birds. I've adopted some birds. Currently we just have the dogs, and the kiddo has one cat and no birds. So kind of cut back lately. But dogs have always been my buddy. I've always talked to them like they're people. It's just been something since I was a child, and I've always enjoyed the company. And right now I'm really grateful to have my dogs. In fact, right now is a good time for me to remember to be grateful. I'm grateful for my friends. I'm grateful for technology that allows us to communicate, whether it's a phone call, or which is old-fashioned these days, or texting, or through video, or just sharing funny things on different social sites. I've been trying to take a little time every day and call a couple of different friends just to have a personal connection, because social sites are great and they're fun, but it's really good to have that really close personal connection. And I'm an old-fashioned girl, so I've talked about it before. I grew up where, ooh, Snickers. Snickers ran into the stand there, sorry. I grew up out really in the middle of nowhere. I've shared pictures of it before. I'll share some more. But really it was a small piece of property, really, in Colorado. It was only a couple of acres, which is unusual there. But it was in between one ranch that was 10,000 acres. The other ranch was 8,000. And then there was another ranch behind us that was 30,000 acres. And then beyond those ranches was National Forest. So we really were out in the middle of nowhere. And we didn't have television. We had a television, but I didn't get anything. We had a VCR, watch movies on it once in a while. We had a telephone, but we had what was called a party line. And so what that meant is it was shared with the neighbors. So anytime you were on the phone, any of the other neighbors could pick up their phone and hear your conversation. So that was kind of funny. And we only had a few neighbors. We just had, I think, 4 that were on that line, but that's kind of funny. And I really did take a bus to school that took an hour to get to school, hour and a half and back, because it was, it might have taken longer, to be honest, because it was a half an hour drive from our house to the school. And our house was in a ghost town. Actually, it was called Slate Creek. And it had, when we first were there to see it, it was just my dad and I. We had gone out from Wisconsin to Colorado because, I might as well just tell you the story, huh? Good day for a story time, right? So I didn't really intend to tell the story on this vlog, but hey, why not? It sounds fun. So it also explains why I do things the way I do. So where I was a kid in Wisconsin, we owned a 40-acre place, and that home didn't have plumbing when we first bought it, and my dad brought in plumbing, and we rebuilt it so that it was our home. He was an airplane mechanic. He was a flight instructor. He was a pilot. So he had a shop on the property, and the property backed up to a really tiny little, miniature airport. It had a grass landing strip. And so you could taxi your airplane through pasture land to where our house was and where my dad had his shop. And he would purchase, broken down airplanes. He would rebuild them and then resell them. And he did flight instructing and pilot work where we lived there. And then, oh, Snickers keeps knocking that. I'm so sorry, guys. You're going to get dizzy. And then my mom also started with chickens and goats and, making our own stuff. You could say we were homesteader type people. And then my sister was born, and she had terrible allergies, just terrible allergies. She had asthma really bad. She was sick all the time. And we just took a family trip for fun out to Colorado and discovered that she could breathe there, and she wasn't allergic to stuff there. And she was real little, you know. I don't know how old she was when we went to visit. Trying to remember, I can't remember. She was only a few years old. And my mom and dad looked at it and said, hey, you know, she'd been in the hospital a few times, and it looked like she could be healthy. Sorry, he won't stop moving around, will he? She could be healthy in Colorado, so let's go ahead and move lock, stock, and barrel and go to Colorado. So we did. And my dad and I went out. Just have to move this so he just stops running into it. Sorry, guys. My dad and I went out, and we scouted a few different places in Colorado, and he found, I really don't know how he found this place. That was a ghost town piece of property that was pretty much unlivable when we found it. It was definitely beautiful, the location, and my dad liked the idea of living, you know, far away. And this place had a feed store that was just literally covered in scrap metal and trash. And then next to it had a one-room cabin. And then on the other side of it, there was what they called a cook shed. That was the town called it. The original town called it a cook shed, because the town would get together and have group activities in the big town hall, but they would cook for the events in this cook shed. A few outhouses, and then across the street was the National Forest. I tell you what, he's determined to do this. I'm so sorry. I'll hold on to it. There we go. Across the street was the National Forest Service, a small piece of property in a little barn. And then next to that was an old bar. And it had been like a fishing vacation spot. So there were little cabins that were going up the river there behind the bar. And so, but that was all deserted. And then there was an old schoolhouse, real small. And it had a small living space for the teacher. And that was the whole town. We ended up purchasing the town hall, the cook shed, the feed store, and the one-room cabin. And at the time, we thought it had running water, but once we got there, discovered that the well was no good. So we didn't have running water. And so the first year, because we moved in pretty close to winter coming up, we did not have running water. And behind the place was the Blue River. And it's such a beautiful river. However, that water is owned by California, and you cannot touch that water. And so we were not able to, you know, use the water from the river. We would use snow. Actually, we would melt snow to do dishes, that sort of thing. And then we had a friend who lived, you know, about 30 minutes away that we could go and haul water from. So we did that the first year and really worked on the feed store to become the house. And of course, the first thing we worked on was getting a bathroom installed. And I remember the day we had running water coming out of the pipe in the tub. We all had a celebration. Anyhow, that place was a real education to live there. You know, we learned, we did have an outhouse. We learned to, you know, we took what we learned in Wisconsin, and it was a little more extreme in Colorado. The only difference there is you couldn't really grow food in Colorado there, because that's, that house was at about 8,000 feet. No, it was higher. It was close to 9,000, but it was 8,000 something. The growing season is too short to grow anything that's like, you know, tomatoes and stuff like that. You kind of have to have just like a greenhouse to be able to grow things. The ranchers in the area, they grew their hay. There was a long enough season for the hay. And usually you could only get one cutting from the hay there. You couldn't, you know, like here, you lower elevation, longer growing season, you can get a few cuttings. But in Colorado, they could really just get the one cutting. So That was always a really busy time of year. Hay season was tough on all the ranchers and their families because they had to get that hay cut and they had to get enough of it in, and they had to get it in before any weather hit it because they had to have that hay for the winter. They would not survive without it. So, we learned a lot of things there. Our house was off of the main road. That's why it became a ghost town, to be honest, because our road that went past our house used to be the main road. And then the highway got moved. Well, it's not really a highway. It's, a 2-lane road, but they called it a highway. It got moved across the river about, I guess it was about 2 miles from the house, probably. I don't know. I'm not real good at distancing, but we used to have to walk that road to get to the bus stop because the bus driver would not come in on our road because it wasn't a safe place for a bus to come in on. And so we used to have to walk that road through snow blizzards. My brother and I used to have a lot of fun going through that. Snow drifts are really fun to stuff each other in. Yeah, we had a good time. But it was a long haul. So we learned a lot of different things there, to be honest. And I tell you right now, I'm real grateful for those lessons. At the time, I probably didn't appreciate them. Learning to live without water, learning how to live with firewood to heat, nothing else. Learning to store foods because we lived so far away, and we also had the risk of being, snowed in for long periods of time. So always had to be prepared for that, and that's long, before cell phones or anything like that. So learned how to make sure we had the right things in our cars, and make sure you had enough clothing, blankets, things like that, water. And over the years, I've gotten a little lazy about that. And so I think this latest thing has encouraged me to do a little better, make sure these things are in the car, because you just never know. And I've really enjoyed being able to grow my food again, because there was a long time where I couldn't because we didn't have any place for it. But after living here and really working on these gardens, I'm sorry that I didn't start sooner in every little place I was at. I've seen some people do some pretty amazing things in their apartments. I have a friend who's doing a worm compost bin in her apartment. That is awesome. And she's growing food in her apartment. I think that's fantastic. And I should have done that, but I didn't. I just thought, I can't do that because I'm in an apartment. So I regret not doing things beforehand. Of course, you can't go back and fix that, and it's not a huge deal, but I'm just sharing that because I think that it can be done in such small spaces. And I've started growing some microgreens, which is really interesting and really easy. And of course, I haven't completed it yet. They look like they're starting to pop up. I'm real excited about that. I think that'll be really interesting to use. And they don't take up any space, and they hardly need any sun. So it's something that's really easy to do. And I really think, if I had thought about this before, I would have done so much more container gardening, because there's just something really beneficial to growing even just 1 or 2 things that add to your pantry. And I didn't really realize that I could apply what I learned growing up in the middle of nowhere and use it in the city until a few years ago when I started doing these videos. I started thinking, well, I can apply what I knew there to here. I just have to do it in a different way, and also smaller. And that's fine, actually, because I'm not sure that I could keep up with something bigger. Because I also don't want it to eat my whole time. That's one of the things I talk about when I do a tour in the front. There is a lot of work that has gone into this to get it started. But every step I've gone to, I've really looked at. Even with me holding it, he still knocks it. I've really looked at making sure long term it takes less water. Long term, it takes less work. I don't want to put anything in that means I've got to take care of that too much, and I've got to spend too much time on it, because I really want to reduce how much time I'm going to be using and doing things, and increase what's growing, and increase a little more downtime in my yard. I have to laugh. I told my mom the other day that it was really amazing how fast I went from, oh, I really wish we could travel more, to I don't think I'm going to be traveling for a good long time, and that's fine. I'm going to hang out in my backyard. It's funny how your perspective can change really quickly. So I think now's the time to hang out in your backyard and grow a few things. And I hope this video encourages you and cheers you up, and helps you, you know, see what I do and all the mistakes I make. And I'm about to make some mistakes, I think. So, and I'm going to try to share them with you. I think I'll be doing more videos out in the gardens. And I will still, like I said, I'll still be doing some videos for painting. But when I finish those 2 pieces that have to be done, then from that point on, I will be doing only videos in the gardens in the summer, and videos of painting in the winter, I think. I mean, that's the plan, because I do need to have a little better control over how I spend my energy, and I'm going to have to slow down just a little bit. So, and I feel really good, because I feel like the garden is close to that point where I can kind of slow down, especially since hubby did a whole bunch of really hard work for me. That leaves only 1, 2 to 3 kind of, not huge, but kind of big projects left, and that's it, which is fantastic. In the meantime, I will be doing staining, and I'll be working on the brick, which is where I think I'll be making the mistakes. I'm really scared about it, but I'm going to do it. And I'll take you along, and you can see what I do. All right, guys, you have a great day out there. Plant something. I love you.